Welcome to a brand new edition of Capital City Sports. I'm Jonathan Hilliard.
And I'm Meredith Harvey. Spring break was full of some athletic action, but don't worry, we'll get you all caught up.
Coming up on Capital City Sports, the USC basketball season has come to a close. Find out if the Gamecocks were able to make a late tournament push.
It's football time in Columbia. The Columbia Stingers took the field for the first time this weekend, and Steve Spurrier's Gamecocks got their spring practice schedule underway.
The Carolina baseball team continues to plow through their schedule. Find out how the Yardcocks performed in their first SEC series of the season.
But how could we start with anything but March Madness?
The NCAA tournament started this weekend, and we've got all the highlights to get you caught up.
Number 1 seed North Carolina taking on number 9 Michigan State. Here we go. With the feed to Tyler Hansborough, lays it in, puts the heels up by 3. Later, Rayshon Terry, the 3 ball. It is money. UNC goes on to win this one. Number 6 Vandy versus number 3 Washington State. Steal off the inbounds pass. Vanderbilt lays it up, seals the win in double OT, moves on to the NCAA tournament. Number 7 Boston College versus number 2 Georgetown. 45 seconds left to play. Roy Hibbert to Patrick Ewing Jr. Georgetown gets the win. Number 9 Xavier taking on the in-state rival Ohio State. Justin Cage misses the free throw with 19 seconds. How about Ron Lewis? Hits the 3 to tie it, sends the game into overtime. In the OT, Daquan Cook, 3 ball, money. Ohio State gets the 78-71 win. Number 6 Louisville versus number 3 Texas A&M. 3 ball to take it, no good. A&M wins, do a little Texas two-step. Number 11 VCU versus number 3 Pitt. Pitt misses 2 free throws, sends this game into overtime. But in the OT, it was all Panthers. Ronald Ramon for 3, money. Into the OT, B.A. Baracus misses the game winner. The VCU Magic will not continue. The 11 seed eliminated. Number 7 Indiana versus number 2 UCLA. Earl Callaway with the lay-in to tie it up. We are going to continue. IU down by 2 again, but the inbound stolen by Varian Collison. UCLA holds on for the win. How about this 4-5 Texas matchup? Kevin Durant shooting over the double team right here. Durant, the freshman superstar. Second half, USC steal. Nick Young taking this one the distance. Dunk goes up by 15. USC goes on to hold on for the win. And then the number 4-5 matchup between Virginia and Tennessee. 6 seconds left. Chris Lofton fouled on the inbound. Makes both of those clutch free throws down the stretch. That brings us to Virginia. Bringing down the inbounds pass. The Magic, not quite there. Tennessee, the SEC, holds on to win this one.
Coming up later on Capital City Sports, we'll take you to the Colonial Center for the kickoff of indoor football in Columbia. But next, we'll tell you how Trey Kelly and the Gamecocks finished up their season. That's all coming up on Capital City Sports. Thanks for joining us for this week's Carolina edition.
Today, the world we live in is fast-paced and ever-changing. We need a senator who will lead us into the future. We need courage. We need integrity. We need someone who won't walk away from trouble. We need Bag of Leaves. Cast your vote to elect Bag of Leaves in the midterm elections.
If you're not voting, then who are you electing?
Alone and crying, boom, boom, bam. Crying, pam, pam, pam. Crying, chaka, chaka, cha. Crying is always good.
It's easy to tell if you've had way too many. But what if you've had just one too many? Buzz driving is drunk driving.
Here we go.
Do you have to go number 1 or number 2?
They played their last game today in a Gamecock uniform, and I told him and I told the team their contribution to Gamecock basketball will go on forever. They're tied to our program forever, and they will forever be remembered as very, very important members of basketball history at South Carolina.
Despite a less than stellar regular season, the Gamecock Hoops team was hoping to redeem themselves in the SEC tournament. Let's go to Atlanta, Georgia for some highlights.
SEC tournament action as the USC Gamecocks take on the Arkansas Razorbacks. USC travels to the Georgia Dome to participate in the tournament, hoping to grab a couple wins, maybe pick up an NIT bid. If they win the tournament, they'll get into the NCAA National Tournament. Trey Kelly warming up before the game is going to try to make something happen, get his team a couple wins here. Earlier in the game, trying to create turnover. Arkansas looking to take it back from each point, but Dominique Archie with the hustle play. Gamecocks will bring it back up court. Trey gets the ball, trying to get some room here, drives to the lane, gives to Brandon Wallace, and he says, "What a time!" Puts it down for 2. Gamecocks down 3. But on this play, Gamecocks lose an integral post player as Dominique Archie goes down, clips his knee on an Arkansas defender. And watch the replay here as his knee just collides with the knee number 15 on Arkansas, and he's just down in pain. He would be out the entire first half, would come back in the second half, but would not be very effective. Brandon Wallace with the rebound here. Trey and Day running the court. Day puts it in. 14-13 Arkansas. Right here, the story of the day. Trey creating for his teammates, dishes out to Evka for 3, tying the game at 16. Evka getting some time here, unlike the last few weeks here. Brandon Wallace out in the post, going to drive on Stephen Hill and throw it down with the little rim rattler. Brandon Wallace having a big day, trying to power his team to a win here. But Darian Towns would just dominate the post in this game, throwing it down right there, the big man. And on the next play here, matched up against Evka in the low post. Not a good matchup, throws it down again. Arkansas up 22-20. With Archie out, the Gamecocks would struggle in the post all day long. And here's the story. Trey drawing 1, 2, 3 defenders, hitting open Brandis Raley-Ross, and he can't hit the shot. That was the story of the day. Trey creating for his teammates and them not hitting open shots. But right here, Evka's going to try to put up a shot, and he hits it. He hit a couple shots this game, didn't miss a few, but trying to help his team out. And right here, Trey trying to make a pass is going to twist his ankle. Evka gets the intentional foul to stop the play, but Trey in visible pain. You'll see the replay here. Trey just steps awkwardly on his ankle, and with his already sprained left knee, which we later find out would be a torn meniscus, that's not going to help him in this game. Ooh, hits the ground hard. Gamecocks down 4. Bryce finds some lane in the post, gives it to Wallace, puts it on the glass and puts it in. Gamecocks only down 2, staying in the game here early in the second half. But right here, trying to get the ball to Trey off some ball screens. He's going to put it up, but he does not see Stephen Hill, who gets the block. Loose ball. Hill's going to tap it back in. And Beverly, the freshman of the year in the SEC, takes it to the hoop and 1. Arkansas up 38-32. Nice hustle play there by Stephen Hill, getting on the ground, touching that ball. And right here, another turnover. Arkansas gets it. Darian Towns throws it down again. Arkansas takes a tremendous 54-40 lead. USC trying to press to get back in, but they let up an easy point here. But they get the inbounds pass, and they're going to get it to Bryce Sheldon, who will hit a 3 and cut the lead down, but not much help for the Gamecocks. And this next possession will be the story of the year for the Gamecocks. Bad low post play. Wallace going to get the rebound here, stripped by Sonny Weems. Kicks back out to the post. Beverly puts up a 3. This is all the same possession, folks. Kick back out. Drives the lane. Thomas is going to try to put it up. He's denied. Stephen Hill with the rebound. Back out again. Beverly's going to throw up an ugly shot with the shot clock going down. Stephen Hill tries to put it down. Tip back up. Thomas is going to put it back up, and Stephen Hill finally ends it after 1 minute of possession. And Brandon Wallace and Trey are substituted out. One last hurrah. Both tried their hardest to put the Gamecocks out on top. SC Freshman of the Year Patrick Beverly finishes with 11 points as Arkansas goes on to win 82-52. Trey Kelly finishes with 11 points and 5 assists. Brandon Wallace records a double-double, 16 points, 15 rebounds. And Gary Irvin for the Arkansas Razorbacks had 16 points and 5 assists in the win.
Welcome to a very special edition of the Boardroom this week. It's just the two of us. I've been waiting for this one all year long. Alex Riley, sports editor of the Daily Gamecock and regular host on Capital City Sports' Boardroom. Alex, we got a lot to talk about today, but we're going to start with the hoops. First of all, how you doing, man?
I've been better.
One of those types of days.
One of those days.
Let's start with hoops. A reason enough to put you in a bad mood right there. Let's grade the Gamecocks. They finished 2 games under 500, bow out in the first round of the SEC tournament. Grade Coach Odom on his job this year.
Well, Coach Odom, I mean, for the talent that he had, I mean, he did as much as he could do, in my opinion. You had a roster that, for the most part, was depleted. I mean, you're rotating at best 8 guys most of the time in and out. Sometimes you could get a 9th guy in there, maybe, if you felt you could trust Mitchell Carter enough, which was in doubt all the time. But I think for the roster he had and the effort he gave was about a C. I really do. I think he utilized Trey Kelly and Brandon Wallace and Dominique Archie to the best of their abilities. He brought a guy in Evka Benulis who none of us thought would be a success. He brought him into the limelight and had a little bit of successful run there midway through the season to help Carolina rally a little bit midway through the season, help Brandis Riley-Ross develop. And I think, the Chad Gray situation is starting to develop as well. I think he'll be a pretty good player for Carolina. So with the talent level where it is right now, with the amount of people sitting on the bench who couldn't play, I'd give him about a C for his effort this year. A lot of people wouldn't give him that high, but I will.
A C for Coach Odom's effort. I like all your points there. The problem is, I'm a C student a lot of the times. I don't think Dave Odom did near as good a job coaching this basketball team as I have on some of the projects and reports in my life. Also, I don't even know if you should give Coach Odom a passing grade at this point because, yeah, he didn't have a whole lot to work with in the cupboard this year. Whose fault is that? You lose Terrence Kinsey and Ronaldo Balkman. A lot of people think you lost Ronaldo Balkman because he didn't get along with Coach Odom. Didn't do enough with what you had. Didn't do enough to live up to the standards of a Division I SEC basketball school. They finished in last place in the SEC, Alex.
Yeah,
that's not going to cut it at the University of South Carolina. I can't give Coach Odom anything above a D-. That's still passing, so I'm waffling between D- and F. That being said, it looks like he's going to be around for another year at least. What does Coach Odom and the Gamecocks have to do next year for him to keep his job?
Well, I mean, he's got a cupboard right now that is full. I mean, there's no other program in the country, in my opinion, right now, with as much young, up-and-coming talent as Coach Odom has in the cupboard. I mean, you're talking about Buck Frederick, you're talking about Devin Downey, and you're talking about Mike Jones. I mean, those 3 names right there were all big-time recruits coming out of high school. Everybody wanted them. Some high-profile schools got them to start with. I guess you could say homesickness kicked in now. They want to go home. They want to come back and play for this program. I think next year he has to have the outright 20-win season. He has to have it outright from the start, not a postseason run the NIT or a postseason run the SEC tournament to get to 20. I think this young group of talent just needs to go ahead and step up. They want to play a Division I basketball at South Carolina. They want to make this program into something. I think they got to go ahead and live up to the hype. Go ahead and step up. Odom's going to be there to coach you. He's infamous for taking guys who are a little off sometimes and making them into better players. I mean, take a look at Tim Duncan, for example. He takes a guy who's, an underrated type of guy and turns him into a superstar. I think he's got, exactly. I think he's got the potential to do that same kind of thing with these three guys in particular, not to mention the talent that's already here. I think they've got a potential to make a run to the NCAA tournament next year. If he doesn't, they're in big trouble.
I'm going to take it a step further and say that he has to win a game in the NCAA tournament, especially the SEC tournament. First-round bowouts are not going to cut it for this type of talent next year. And I think he's got to win a game in the NCAA tournament, which would probably mean Carolina gets a 6 to a 10 seed. With the talent they have, 3 Mr. Basketballs on the team next year, Mike Jones coming in January, and you've got Mike Holmes, if he qualifies, coming in, who could be another Mr. Basketball quality player. You can't have that kind of talent and continue to bow out in the NIT, be 2 games under 500, and expect to keep your job. That being said, move on to March Madness real quickly. Is the tourney less interesting without the Cinderellas this year? First weekend, the lowest seed you have still left is a 7.
Well, I mean, the Winthrop Eagles were my pick to go to the Sweet 16. That obviously did not happen. I think you're right, with UNLV and Butler being in the same bracket, if they both advance, I mean, Butler is a 5 seed, don't get me wrong. That's a pretty high seed for anybody. But if they were to advance, one of them's going to knock the other one out. So I think the Cinderella edge is gone. I think right now you're getting down to truly the best teams in the country. I think after about the 3rd or 4th seed, the talent level is a major drop-off. You're seeing that right now. And it's taking its effect on everybody's bracket, I guess you would say, who's looking for that Cinderella team, not going to be there this year.
I think a big reason for that is the new 19-year-old rule that they have in the NBA. So you're getting a lot of those big-time schools getting those freshmen that maybe wouldn't have been in college basketball, like a Greg Oden, like a Kevin Durant, and it's just making the cream rise to the top. And those guys are making those top-level teams a little bit better. And that's why you have so many high seeds still in the NCAA tournament after weekend 1. Well, that's all the time we have for this segment of the Boardroom. We'll be back later on in the show with many more topics, including spring practice for football. I'm Jonathan Hilliard. This is Alex Riley. We'll be back in a few minutes.
The USC baseball team is off to a great start. Could they keep it going on Tuesday night against UNC Asheville? But next, Coach Steve Spurrier and the Gamecock football team are ready for some fun in the sun. Spring practice is underway next on Capital City Sports.
Hey! What is your problem, man? All right. What's going on here, fellas?
The missile was about to hit the school.
That doesn't change the fact that I don't have a car anymore. Who just throws a person's car at a missile?
You're serious?
Yeah. Who's going to pay for my car?
The bear climbed over the mountain, the bear climbed over the mountain, the bear climbed over the mountain, and what do you think he saw? What do you think he saw? What do you think he saw? The bear climbed over the mountain, the bear climbed over the mountain, the bear climbed over the mountain, and what do you think he saw?
Just 4 months ago, Steve Spurrier and the Gamecock football team won their first bowl game in 5 years. Now, the old ball coach is ready to reload the team and start up with the spring practice. Jonathan Hilliard has more.
The USC fan base is hoping that the 3rd year is the charm for Steve Spurrier and the Gamecock football team as they opened up spring practice on Tuesday. The team is hoping to build on an 8-win season that included the school's first win over Clemson in 5 seasons. Tuesday only marked the beginning as the team worked out without pads in a no-contact practice session.
We're trying to, improve a lot of areas, and I think our players want to have a good team, and we're excited about trying to get better this spring.
Change was the theme of Tuesday's workout as some new faces popped up for the Gamecocks. Junior college transfer Larry Freeman burst onto the scene with a solid opening practice. The junior from Pearl River Community College is slated as the pre-spring starter at the split-end position and is hoping to make an immediate impact.
Everybody wants me to come and play Sidney Rice, but I'm not really trying to do that. I'm just trying to come out and help the team win. Coach Spurrier wanted to win the SEC championship this year, so I'm just trying to help him win the SEC championship, maybe the next championship.
Talk about Larry Freeman. He's number one depth shot.
Hey, Larry Freeman.
Coach Spurrier's raving about him.
Yeah, he looked great out here. He's a great athlete, big target, and he's real fast. He's got great hands. I don't think I saw him miss a ball out here all day. So, yeah, Larry Freeman looks like the real deal out there at receiver.
Noticeably absent from the action, but in attendance, was heralded freshman Steven Garcia, who was suspended from spring practice.
Yeah, he's eligible to watch.
Okay.
Yeah. He mistakenly wore a jersey out. He's not supposed to wear a jersey. He didn't know the rules of the suspended player that can watch practice, but we give them to him as we go.
Yeah.
On the defensive side of the ball, a number of new faces were evident, but none more than that of Clifton Geathers. The 6'7", 270-pound freshman is an imposing figure and could easily carry over 300 pounds effectively. With Geathers and other newcomers such as Jonathan Williams and Travian Robertson solidifying the defensive line, Casper Brinkley has been moved to outside linebacker. Arguably one of USC's better defensive ends in 2006, Brinkley is glad to be back alongside his brother Jasper.
To tell the truth, I was kind of glad because, I'm really not a defensive end because I'm kind of undersized and underweight. And the move back to linebacker just felt natural for me.
The team will put on the pads for the first time on Friday before holding their first scrimmage on Saturday. The scrimmage will be open to the public, so all Gamecock fans will see firsthand what the old ball coach has to work with in 2007. Jonathan Hilliard, Capital City Sports. Welcome back to the boardroom. I'm here with Alex Riley again. Alex, it's that time of the year that we all love. It's football season yet again. The Gamecocks starting spring practice this week. Any initial thoughts on that?
Well, obviously we're all disappointed not to have Steven Garcia here at practice. That's what we were all looking for. I think a lot of people were looking for him to challenge the quarterback position with Blake Mitchell. Obviously, it's not going to happen this spring. That's fine, give Blake the chance to build his confidence up, in my opinion. The depth chart came out, and Tommy Beecher's listed as the second quarterback, not Chris Smelly, surprisingly enough. That might be just an age thing, just something Spurrier had to put down. But I think this is going to give Blake the chance to build his confidence up, and I'm really looking forward to seeing what he can do in spring practice.
Obviously, you'd love to have Steven Garcia in spring practice, but this might be just what that kid needs. He obviously was not ready to come to college yet and be in this type of atmosphere on his own without mommy and daddy. We've all heard the excuses, but bottom line, Steven, you've got this time to get your act together, get your act cleaned up, stay out of trouble, and focus on the books, which is probably what he needs to be doing in the first semester of his college career. And come fall time, he'll be ready to at least work out with the team, maybe redshirt, give him a year of offense under his belt. That being said, let's take a look at the guys who are going to participate in spring practice. You're looking to replace Sidney Rice. Who's that guy that's going to step up and be the go-to guy for the Gamecocks?
Well, the depth chart says Larry Freeman. Now, I don't know how much stock I put in that. That's the guy they've got listed as the number 1 guy. He's going to be donning the old number 8 jersey worn by the great Fred Bennett of past. But I'm interested to see how the freshmen battle for this. You've obviously got some guys on this team that fit the, quote, Spurrier receiver, the guys who are, they're not your 6'4", 6'5" guys. They're your guys who are 6'1", 6'2", maybe even the Kenny McKinley 5'11", who just straight up run down the field and catch passes. That being said, I think Blake Mitchell fits more of a physical Calvin Johnson, Sidney Rice type receiver who jumps up and gets the ball. It's going to be interesting to see if he can make that same kind of connection he made with Sidney Rice with one of these new guys, or somebody else going to step up. The interesting thing about the receiving corps, though, Jared Cook still listed as a tight end, actually in the middle of like a 5-man tight end rotation. They say he runs the 40 and 4-3. They say he's got leaping ability. All the guys said that last year he was the best wide receiver on the team. Still got him stuck at tight end. It's going to be interesting to see where he finally ends up.
I don't think you're going to see that for very long in spring practice. If it's apparent that he can't block like he couldn't last year, he's going to be moved to wide receiver. And that's actually my player to watch to fill in Sidney Rice's shoes is Jared Cook, the now redshirt sophomore out of Swanee, Georgia. He's just too big and too fast not to be a factor in this offense.
Exactly.
If he can get over the case of the stone hands that he had for quite a while last year, he should be a solid target for the Gamecocks in the future. Now, who needs a big spring to kind of crack the rotation, crack that starting rotation, and really come out of the shadows and emerge as a solid player for this team?
Well, I tell you, the deepest positions Carolina have right now are at the linebacker position. I mean, you've got 6 guys right now at the top, maybe in some 7 and 8 guys, who any other team in the SEC, definitely in some ACC schools with the depletion they've had with some linebackers, could be starting right now. And you're talking about guys who are going to be on the bench playing second fiddle. Now, granted, Rodney Paulk, Casper Brinkley, and Jasper Brinkley are listed as the 3 starters. You've got some guys who are going to rotate in and out of there who are going to provide a lot of depth. But if one of these guys wants to step up and fill in maybe Rodney Paulk's spot, although he played so solid last year, I don't know if you could steal that spot from him. But that's where the battle is going to be, in my opinion. The quarterback battle is always going to be controversial. Receiver's going to be controversial. But the depth at the linebacker position is where a true battle for more playing time than somebody else could be.
My player to watch in this spring break, or this spring practice, as far as somebody that needs to make a statement, is Carlos Thomas. Up and down all season last year, down for the most part, let's be honest, up in the Clemson game. But he really needs to step in this spring and show that he has turned it around. He can play that corner position with confidence, and he can cover the best receivers in the SEC. If not, he's going to have some freshmen and Sam Pope, a JUCO transfer, coming in the fall looking to take his job. He needs to have a big spring in order to keep his spot. Now, we've already talked about some newcomers. Who's the newcomer in the spring, whether it be junior college transfer or a prep school guy, that is really going to pop out at you, and you're going to look at him in the spring game on April 14th and say, this guy's going to be a factor in a USC uniform?
Well, I think if anybody's got the potential to do it, it's Larry Freeman with Sidney Rice leaving that position wide open. I mean, the possibility is there for him to come, step in, make that connection with Blake, become a real factor in the receiving corps, and kind of take that #1 receiving spot that we all hope he might take. But I tell you what, Clifton Gathers really is the guy to watch. This guy could be a real factor on this team. He's got the chance to step up and have some quality playing time and to push a lot of guys who are veterans out of the way.
When you got a guy that weighs 295 pounds at 6'7", coaching staff has already said that they think he can go as high as 340. Whether it's a defensive tackle, some people still think he can play defensive end, offensive tackle. This guy's got way too much of an upside not to be effective immediately. Yeah, it's going to take some time to get him worked in the system, get him to know the offense or defense, whichever side he's going to play. But this guy is just too big and too freakish of an athlete not to make some kind of factor. Okay, spring practice. You get excited because it's football season. It's year 3 of the Spurrier era. Is this where it all gets turned around and the Gamecocks really start to make some noise?
Well, I think Spurrier said it himself that, this year he wanted those first 2 years to be the learning curve. He wanted to get guys in the system who were, I guess you would say, qualified to run his style of offense. He wanted to get the guys who were here trained in his style of offense. And he said it himself that he wants to challenge for the SEC title this year. Now, he has said that with Sidney Rice here. But I don't think Sidney Rice is as big a factor as everybody makes it out to be. He's a great receiver, and it's all about chemistry. Don't get me wrong. Blake Mitchell has a fantastic chemistry with the guy. But at the end of the day, somebody else is going to step up and, as previous coach Lou Holtz said, fall in the hand grenade for the welfare of the team. So somebody's going to step up and fill that position. I think they can challenge for the SEC title this year. I think Florida still the cream of the crop. The problem is they've got Tebow coming in. He's a freshman. Yes, he had some playing time. He was a very specific style quarterback last year, though. Didn't get a lot of opportunities to throw touchdowns. Of course, his great touchdown pass was the jump ball that nobody knows what that was. But I think that Carolina can make a push for the SEC title next year. Maybe not the national title, but they definitely should finish no worse than 3rd in the SEC East.
There you hear it. Alex Riley thinks the Gamecocks can finish no worse than 3rd in the SEC East. Maybe get to 9 or 10 wins in a season where they've got an awful lot of talent coming back. We talked about the newcomers. We talked about the players to watch. That gets you caught up on the Gamecocks coming into spring practice. We'll be back later on in the show with more Boardroom. For Alex Riley, I'm Jonathan Hilliard. We'll be back later on.
Next on Capital City Sports, we'll introduce you to the Columbia Stingers football team and some former Gamecocks making a name for themselves in the National Indoor Football Team. Don't go away. We'll be right back.
my pot of gold, your daddy's little girl, till heaven home.
It's easy to tell if you've had way too many. But what if you've had just one too many? Buzz driving is drunk driving.
Thanks for joining us for this week's Carolina edition.
What's it like when you hear your calling? Will you remember where you were? Will you ignore it? Or will you listen? What if it calls you to go halfway around the world? To share your skills? To serve people you've never met? To do things you never thought you could? What will you do when you hear your calling? Peace Corps, life is calling. How far will you go?
I wanted to, when I got this job, to go find, I would like for half the team to be Gamecocks, and I knew we'd get a good response, and it felt good. And when they called our names, fans were cheering. So, you want to bring familiarity to this, this arena. So I'm hoping to get a couple of more. So we'll see what happens.
Need a quick football fix? Columbia has the answer with their new NIFL team, the Stingers. Capital City Sports was at the Colonial Center for their first game.
The wait is over. Columbia finally has a professional football team. Well, kind of. The Colonial Center hosted the inaugural game of the National Indoor Football League's Columbia Stingers on Saturday. A modest crowd funneled straight from 5 Points to the Colonial Center on St. Patrick's Day to watch the Stingers take on the Cincinnati Marshals. Former Carolina linebacker Corey Miller paced the sidelines in his first game as head coach, but unfortunately watched his team fall to Cincinnati 48-34. The team featured several former Gamecock players from the early 2000s, such as Brian Elam, Taki Muhammad, Jermaine Harris, and Tremaine Tyler. Tyler ignited the crowd early in the game with a helmet-rattling hit on a kickoff return. Elam played soundly for the Stingers throughout the evening as well. In the end, it wasn't enough even after 2 Brandon Sims touchdown passes. Cincinnati took advantage of 2 Stinger turnovers returned for touchdowns and would go on to win by 2 scores. Some of the Stingers players expressed their thoughts on the game.
I think for the first crowd, for everybody being on spring break, this was a good crowd and whatnot. So, I hope that we can get more support and more people coming out here and playing with us and watching the games.
Oh, it's real intense, It's the first time, this team has seen this type of stuff. And, this is our first day actually in pads. We got our pads today, so that's like the first time we really hit. So, it was real intense. We made a lot of mistakes, but we're going to learn from that and go from there.
All right, we're here with the coach, Coach Miller. Talk about your first game out here. How'd it feel?
Well, it felt great. It felt great. It was our first day actually putting on shoulder pads or helmet. The first day these guys have been practice, so we took it as a preseason game for us. We've only been going at it for 3 weeks, so I expected turnovers. I expected some things to happen, but we had a chance to win. The 2 plays they scored on defense, we would have been in the ball game. So I'm happy with the outcome, and I'm looking forward to getting better as the weeks come.
You had a pretty good crowd out here tonight. Being a Gamecock, former Gamecock yourself, how did it make you feel to see the response to you guys tonight?
Oh, great response. And today was St. Patty's Day. I knew all the festivities that was going on in 5 Points, so we knew that the crowd might be subliminal, but we're happy. I think by the time we come back to play Greensboro, we're gonna pack this thing out and have a great time.
You saw a lot of Garnet and Black in the stands tonight, and you've got a couple of former Gamecocks yourself, kind of a little bit of a Carolina feel to the team. Talk about what those guys bring to the team.
Well, I wanted to, when I got this job to go find, I would like to have this team to be Gamecocks, and I knew we'll get a good response, and it felt good. And when they called our names, fans were cheering. So you want to bring familiarity to this, this arena. So I'm hoping to get a couple of more. So we'll see what happens.
Welcome back to the boardroom. Alex Riley is still with me. Alex, let's move on to some more football, shall we? The Columbia Stingers making their debut in the Colonial Center on Saturday. I know you were there. I was there. Any initial impressions?
Well, I got to tell you, this is the first game for this organization, and to be quite honest with you, I was thoroughly impressed. I know it's a first game, jitters, everybody's trying to figure everything out. We talked to Coach Miller after the game, and he said that, this is the first time his guys have had pads on the entire time they've been practicing. So I can't deny it. I was thoroughly impressed with the job that the organization has done with as little marketing as they've done as far as, advertising. To have a crowd there of they say 39 or 36,000. I think it was pushing somewhere around 4,000 or 5,000. It was an entertaining event. It's a different kind of football. It's not what you're going to see from Steve Spurrier's boys down at Williams-Brice. It's definitely entertaining, something quality to do on a Saturday afternoon.
I got to tell you, the fans get an A+ for them coming out and being a part of the game. The team gets an A+ for being psyched and ready to go and playing some quality football at points. The Columbia Stingers marketing organization is getting an F at this point. No logos on the helmets. Obviously was not prepared to have, probably got the uniforms in at the last minute. The field was a ripped-off Arena 2 field that they had obviously tried to spray paint over. Just not real prepared for this first game. Let's hope that improves by the April 7th game. But at this point, it looks like they've got a pretty good product to market. Probably don't have the money to market it quite like they would hope to. Hopefully that'll improve over the season. Now the question is it going to last? Is this going to be a team that's going to be around for 10 to 12 years, a long-standing tradition in Columbia, or is it going to be a one-and-done or maybe a 2 and 3 years and done for this team?
Well, I think Corey Miller said it best after the game. He said he wants to pack out the Colonial Center. And I can't disagree with him. I really believe that if there's one thing we all know about Columbia, it's football comes number one. And we've got 3 guys, actually 4 guys on the roster, one who we have never actually heard of him before. We think he was a walk-on, who played for Carolina. Their names, you have a coach who's a star at Carolina in his days here. So I think that, this is very marketable to Columbia. I think that with the prices of tickets, the family atmosphere, all the free giveaways of T-shirts and hats and footballs and, getting to come on the field after the game, I think it's a truly marketable opportunity for Columbia. The Bombers were very successful here for the amount of time they were. Towards the end, they kind of fell off because they let the stadium go away. The Inferno have been very successful here, in my opinion, for hockey in the South. So I think indoor football is something that if marketed the right way, and if they keep the tradition up, they keep a couple Carolina players on the roster, they keep some guys who maybe came from Columbia and went off to college somewhere in the upstate or, in neighboring states. I think that they can make this a very marketable product and something that fans in Columbia are going to be hungry to see. It's realistic that lower bowl one day could be entirely filled with people. I firmly believe that.
I think you said it best a number of times when you said they've got a marketable product. I think what this hinges on is if they do market that product, if they get out, they do some advertising, they do some public relations, they get the players involved in the community, and they really get this team to identify with the Columbia Stingers because they've got the product there, but they've got to market it and they've got to get the fans in the seats. If they can fill that lower bowl, as long as the National Indoor Football League survives, the Columbia Stingers will survive as well because, like you said, it's a football town with a drinking problem. Let's not lie to you. And they did have beer at the Colonial Center on Saturday night. I don't know if you noticed that. But
St. Patrick's Day, it was a good time.
No, ladies and gentlemen, Steven Garcia was not in attendance. Let's move on. Gamecocks on the squad. You've already mentioned they've got 3 or 4 of them. A couple guys representing the Gamecocks as DBU. You got Jermaine Harris was a safety at Carolina, Tremaine Tyler, Taki Muhammad. A lot of guys there that are representing the Gamecocks in the National Indoor Football League. The question is, does this team need more of a Gamecock presence on it? You got Corey Miller, obviously the head coach is a Gamecock. Can they go even a step further? And like you said, should they pick up some more local guys and more Clemson guys to have the fans identify more with this team?
Well, I think they've done a tremendous job. I got to be honest with you. When I heard that the rosters had come out they didn't have an actual printed out roster at the time, and I thought there weren't going to be any guys from Carolina on there, to be honest with you. I really thought that this was going to be, you know, a journeyman's kind of thing, somebody who had kind of been booted from league to league who finally ended up in Columbia. And to have those 3 guys, all 3 guys, I recognize their name from my time as a Carolina fan. You know, I was thoroughly impressed to see the amount of people they have on there, and there's going to be guys who are going to be coming around, maybe graduating the next couple of years, who won't have the opportunity per se to play in the NFL or NFL Europe, maybe even the Arena League. And this could give them an opportunity to continue playing football, maybe get spotted on their way up. A guy like, not calling him bad or anything, but Stanley Doty. Stanley Doty's not going to make it to the NFL, in my personal opinion. So maybe come back to Columbia after it fails and play a couple of games, you know, for the Stingers. Maybe build up your reputation, you know, get back into football shape. Maybe get a shot at the next level, AFL2, AFL1, and maybe take it from there. I think it's a very good opportunity for guys who maybe flew under the radar at Carolina when they graduate. If they want to stay in Columbia, work on a master's degree at the university, why not play a little football while you're at it? So I think that if Carolina people continue to come around, if Columbia people continue to come around and try out for the team, it could be something that could be very successful and could have a very Columbia feel to it.
Carolina's got a history of putting guys that really contribute to the community out in after they graduate. Todd Ellis is a very successful lawyer. If you can get a couple guys like that have jobs in the Columbia area and still want to play some football, you've got something here with the Columbia Stingers, some former Gamecock players. I think you hit the nail on the head when you said maybe that's an option for Stanley Doty, because at 330 pounds and 1 jelly donut away from 350, this guy has got some work to do before he goes to the NFL. And, you know, why not do it in Columbia in the National Indoor Football League? Okay, that's all we have for this segment of the Boardroom. We'll be back later on the show to talk some Gamecock baseball.
Next on Capital City Sports, we'll go back to Sarge Frye Field to update you on the Gamecock baseball team. We'll be right back.
He'll be a senator with integrity.
He has my family's future in mind.
He cares about young people.
He's a hard worker.
He's focused.
Effective. I believe in Old Relish Packet.
We need a condiment with values.
He'll represent us well in Washington, and he is so good looking.
Old Relish Packet and I were trapped 50 miles behind enemy lines. He saved my life.
This message paid for by Citizens for Old Relish Packet.
If you're not voting, then who are you electing?
Welcome back to Capital City Sports. On Monday, freshman baseball players Lonnie Chisenhall and Nick Fuller were arrested and charged with grand larceny and burglary stemming from an incident that happened over spring break. Coach Ray Tanner decided to immediately dismiss the players from the team and talk to the media about it on Tuesday.
Ray, what was your, when you first got wind of this, what was your gut reaction?
It's just a tremendous disappointment. You just take a blow. And
from left field, like
so it's just hard to understand. Just take a hit.
It had to come from left field. You generally have not recruited kids that get in trouble.
No, I nobody's perfect, but I knew
Nick's parents and Lonnie's parents, and you know, as you would make the comment, they come from good stock and they know right from wrong, and made very poor decisions.
Can you talk about when you first confronted them, how they responded? Did they tell you the truth from the get and how that went?
Yeah, I think they know me well enough that when I sat down with them, that the truth was going to come out, and I gave them an opportunity to come forward. I knew that they were going to be questioned, and I suggested to them that at this point, if there's something that's going on, they needed to come forward, and they did that.
What did they say when it got down to what'd you do?
Just no explanation. They, you know, wasn't a money issue. It wasn't. It's just they couldn't give me an answer. You know, they just said that I made bad decisions, and just wasn't. You know, even yesterday afternoon, I met with them prior to them getting booked, I guess, late yesterday afternoon, and no explanation.
Obviously, you're pretty close with those players, and just what does them being in this position, you know, what does it mean to you personally?
You know, you're just disappointed. You know, as coaches and players, you go to you go to battle together all the time. I need a minute. Just don't expect something like this. You know, you have things that happen and guys make mistakes, but you just don't expect things like this to happen, and you just don't know what to say, don't know how to react. I really feel for their parents, and you know, the team. That's not really a concern. I haven't given that a thought. I talked to Lonnie's mom and Nick's parents last night, and just don't have an answer.
It was the Gamecocks' first game on the field after the expulsion of Nick Fuller and Lonnie Chisenhall from the team. They would take on UNC Asheville out of North Carolina. Gamecocks taking the field 2001. Disher gives a little skip over the line. Always good to be superstitious. Very superstitious team we got here. JUCO Sean Weidberg would get the start, and he would start early with a K. Had some control problems, but you get through it. We'll see you later on. Here in the bottom of the first, Darnell starting the inning off with a walk. Steals second base, and Klein up to bat is going to rip one up the middle. UNCA looking like they're going to have a play, but Darnell's going to beat the throw by a mile. Scores 1-0 Gamecocks. Next up, Smoke crushes one to left field. Smoke is going to have to step it up with the absence of Chisenhall, and he did right there. 2-run shot. That's 3-0 Gamecocks in the bottom of the first. These boys can hit. Smoke's 7th home run of the season. His bat's starting to come along. Should even get hotter as the season goes along. Here in the top second, Weidberg is going to walk UNCA batter, load the bases. Had some control problems. And right here, he'd walk a run home. Rob Vernon scores for UNCA, making it 3-1. Here are 2 outs. He's going to get a ground out to TJ there at second. Flip to Reese Havens, inning over. Not too much harm done. Bottom of the second, Crisp on first base. TJ's going to hit one deep to center field. It's carrying, but it's off the wall. Chris will make his way over to third, and TJ will be into second safely with a double. After Reese Havens' walk, Lael's going to ground into a double play ball here. Still guy on third base, 2 outs. Darnell at the plate, drives one the opposite way. Good piece of hitting by Darnell there, scores TJ. 5-1 Gamecocks. And Weiberg would record 2 Ks in the top of the third, finishing off a nice night. John Willard here with the solo shot. He crushed this ball. That's his 3rd of the season. As he trots around the bases. Here we go, the young boy, Harley Lael, getting another single. Crisp coming around third. Throw looks like it's going to be close, but it's cut off, and Crisp scores, making the game 7-1 in favor of the Gamecocks. Sophomore left-hand pitcher Alex Moroto here is going to throw some strikes, striking out 2 UNCA hitters right here. Ends up striking out the side, and is going to record 2 more strikeouts in the top of the 5th. Again, Harley Lael with a 2-run shot. Deep, kids. He went 2 for 4 with 3 RBIs. That gives the Gamecocks a 9-1 lead in the bottom of the 5th inning. Kid's been swinging a good bat. Should help fill in the outfield with the missing Lonnie Chisenhall. Gamecocks would coast, and Forrest Beverly would get his first appearance of the night. Nasty hook there, striking out the UNCA hitter. And we'd also get to see Jeff Jeffords hitting 93 on the radar gun, striking out 2 in the 9th. Fans won there, and 1 more to end the game. Gamecocks win it 9-2.
How did it feel to get back out on the field after everything?
It was a sigh of relief when the first pitch was thrown. I was glad to be trapped between the lines again. So.
And again, the final is 9-2 in favor of the Gamecocks. Gamecocks recorded 12 hits to UNCA's 9. Andrew Crisp went 3 for 4 with 3 runs scored. And Brett Robertson of UNCA was 3 for 3 with a walk.
Welcome back to the boardroom on Capital City Sports. I'm Jonathan Hilliard. I'm still here with Alex Riley. Alex, let's talk some baseball. And first, get us up to date. What's going on?
The tragic news of the day, I guess you would say. Lonnie Chisenhall and Nick Fuller no longer with the Carolina baseball team. Coach Tanner released a statement this afternoon saying that both players had been kicked off the team permanently. This is not a dismissed and they can come back. This is a permanent ban from Gamecock baseball. Unforeseen, nobody saw it coming, stemming from burglary and grand larceny charges related to some incidents that happened at the university. Arrested by USCPD, spending the night in jail down at the Alvin S. Glenn Detention Center. Nobody saw this coming. I mean, 2 guys who were standout players, both entered into the NMLB draft, got drafted very highly coming out of high school. Careers done at Carolina. It's a real shame that 2 guys, well, Tanner has an eye for recruiting guys who are standout citizens, quality guys. These 2, I guess, just slipped under the radar.
And these 2, to be honest with you, did not seem like these type of guys coming out of high school. It'll be interesting to see all the details of what exactly happened with these 2 fellas, but it's a dirty shame. You talk about Nick Fuller and Lonnie Chisenhall. These are not low-radar guys. No. These are guys that Nick Fuller was a 3rd-round draft pick, 2nd highest player to be drafted in the MLB draft and still go to college. Lonnie Chisenhall rated #1 in Baseball America in high school recruits last year, having a great year up to this point. These guys, I mean, it just makes you wonder. All the arrests the football team has had in the last couple of years, and now a couple guys from the baseball team getting in on it. Do you think this is something that's happening and maybe just not being enforced or punished at other schools or maybe even here, and these guys just got unlucky and got caught, or we have kind of a problem with discipline here at Carolina?
Well, it's just there's no explanation for this. There really isn't. If you actually, the details are going to come out here pretty soon. It involves some cash and computers that were taken. Very similar incidents to some of the stuff that the football players have done over the last couple of years. It's really just unexplainable. I mean, these guys have, for all intents and purposes, everything at their fingertips. They have an education paid for. We all know how popular they are when you go out and you see them hanging out downtown, having a good time. Everything's at their fingertips. The world, basically. It's the old Scarface analogy. The world is at your fingertips. And for some odd reason, it's just not enough for these guys. This one, I really never saw it coming. Football, every now and then you get a couple guys on there who you know are bad. I mean, the Miamis of the world have all these problems all the time. I mean, even Trey Kelly had a little run-in with the wall during his senior year. Nothing major, nothing that would get him suspended from the team, but it was enough to raise a red flag for a moment. But these two, totally unforeseen. I don't think this is the problem with the whole team. I think this is two freshmen who just got ahead of themselves and just decided they were going to do something really stupid, to be honest with you.
These are not minor charges either. You've got Nick Fuller facing 3 counts of burglary and 3 counts of grand larceny. Lonnie Chisenhall facing 1 count of each. Pretty serious for these guys. Now let's move on to the team. What does this mean for the Gamecocks? Gamecocks are going to be looking for a right fielder. Maybe you plug in John Willard, who's been playing a lot of DH for you, in the right field spot. Lonnie Chisenhall was the guy you were counting on.
I agree. Well, I think the biggest person to win in this entire situation is going to be Harley Lael, to be honest with you. I think when Robbie Grindstaff makes his comeback to the outfield, that you're going to see Harley Lael stick around out there. I think that's going to be a big thing for him. Now, who they get to fill that spot in the meantime, you're right, it could be somebody like that. But right now, it's just a question of open tryouts. I mean, to be honest with you, Chisenhall was swinging a hot bat. He was playing great defense. It's a shame that this spot is open, but now some of these guys who maybe they weren't going to get the chance to play are now able to step up and give a little tryout. And it's going to be interesting. We have 2 midweek games this week. It's going to be interesting to see who steps up and fills those roles for Coach Tanner.
Nick Fuller obviously had a rocket arm, could throw the heat, had pitched 5 innings, struck out 7, walked 7. It remains to be seen whether he was going to be that dominant relief guy or dominant starter in the future for the Gamecocks. But I guess now we'll never know. That's all for this week's episode of The Boardroom. For Alex Riley, I'm Jonathan Hilliard. Thanks for joining us, and we'll be back next week.
It's easy to tell if you've had way too many. But what if you've had just one too many? Buzz driving is drunk driving.
Do you have to go number 1 or number 2?
Thanks for joining us for this week's Carolina edition.
Next week on Capital City Sports, we'll continue to chronicle the USC football team's journey through spring practice.
And we'll have more from the Diamond as we keep you up to date on Ray Tanner and his Gamecock baseball team.
That's all for this week's Capital City Sports. Tune in every Thursday at 8 p.m. only on SGTV. I'm Jonathan Hilliard.
And I'm Meredith Harvey. Have a great week.